this short video of taking yoga away from your mat, we're going to look at the pelvic floor. There won't be much to see, particularly in this video. The pelvic floor is very much a set of internal muscles. Any ladies that have been through childbirth will be familiar with their pelvic floor. Gents also have pelvic floors. You should really be working these all the time. So every day, more than once a day, they're the muscles that you use when you need to stop urinating, weeing. And you can very much learn to control and work these. Adult incontinence is on the rise, and none of us really want to experience that. So it's a very good idea to get in touch with the pelvic floor to work those muscles. If you want more information, if you put in NHS pelvic floor, you'll be able to download an NHS sheet that will explain more about the pelvic floor. There's one for men and one for women. So we will start by laying on the mat, which is the way we do it in class to practice the pelvic floor. So lower yourself down into a position where your back is flat, your hips are level, and start with those feet slightly apart, knees bent. We want to feel, and sometimes referred to as zipping up, that we're lifting the pelvic floor at centre. So see if you can engage with those muscles that you use when you've got to wait in line to use the toilet, and see if you can just engage with them. There are two different types of exercise. There's a slow twitch and fast twitch, and you should be practicing both. Often the recommendation is to practice until the muscles feel tired. The slow twitch is lifting and releasing, holding for about 1 second. So this is the one, if you come to the classes, I say lift, hold, release. And then there's a 5-second one, where we lift and engage with the pelvic floor, and we try and hold that for 5 seconds, and then we try and release under control rather than just letting go in a very quick way that you do with the quick release ones. So see if you can engage with those pelvic floor muscles. It might take you a while. You might give this up today and come back to it tomorrow. Once you've got familiar with finding your pelvic floor, you'll be able to do this anytime, anywhere. So let's see if we can lift the pelvic floor and release. When we're ready, we'll do 5 quick twitches. So lift, hold, release. 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 And then we're going to see if we can do 5 slow twitches. I'm exercising my pelvic floor, I promise you, and you'll see I'm not lifting my hips up. You can work on to hold here and engage the pelvic floor with the hips lifted if you want to. But do try and focus that movement being very much internal. So make sure hips are feeling flat, feet a comfortable distance apart, and let's try for those slow twitch ones. So we're going to gather up the pelvic floor. We're going to hold 3, 4, 5, release steadily under control. Then we go for lifting again, try and gather up the pelvic floor rather than it being fast. We're gathering so that we can hold for a count of 5 seconds all together. And then we try and release softly under control. Engaging and lifting. And steadily releasing. Again, drawing up with the pelvic floor to hold 2 and 3. and 4 and 5 and release. So you don't need to be stopwatch accurate. Gathering up, engaging the pelvic floor and holding. And releasing under control. As you become more practiced, you'll be able to hold for more than 5 seconds. So having engaged with the pelvic floor down on the mat, we can try to engage with the pelvic floor from standing. If you start with your feet hip width apart, feet parallel, outer edges parallel, and we'll do 5 quick twitch ones first of all. So lift, hold, release. 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 I sometimes say to people you might want to do this in a queue or at a bus stop, but do remember your eyebrows might be going up and down with your pelvic floor. Maybe you're not the only one in the queue doing it. So we're going to try to lift and hold and do the slow twitch. So I'm going to aim for around 5 seconds here. So we gather up the pelvic floor and then you release under control. So see if you can repeat, gathering up the pelvic floor and hold for 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and release. Repeating as you're ready, gathering up pelvic floor. And releasing. One more. And releasing. Now the pelvic floor is a figure of 8 set of muscles. If you want to check you're using the right ones, you can try and stop mid-flow when you're having a wee and see if you're working. If you are unable to stop your flow, then it might be your pelvic floor isn't working at all, and you might find that after a short while practicing pelvic floor you are able to stop the flow. Of course, if you have any major concerns, get in touch with your doctor. So the pelvic floor muscles, figure of 8 muscles. If we turn those toes in, so we're standing pigeon-toed, heels nice and wide, and we try and engage with the pelvic floor, just do some short lifts and releases. You might find that movement has changed. You might find this is very much in the front of the body. Likewise, if we turn those heels in together, toes out wide, so our Charlie Chaplin style stance, and try and lift and release through the pelvic floor, you might find the back is working, so the anus. So think about when you bring your feet back to level, that you want to lift at centre. Once you're familiar with working your pelvic floor in this way, you can engage it into your general yoga practices. And if you want to work to strengthen more, think about coming into a squat position and engaging your pelvic floor from here. There's plenty of resources if you want to have a look at other exercises. We do in yoga use lifting the pelvic floor to bring the energy into the body, and often it will be referred to zipping up, lifting the pelvic floor. It depends who you do your yoga with, what school of training you've been to, but certainly learning to engage with the pelvic floor is good for the health of all the sexual area organs for both men and for women. When you squeeze and release any muscle area, any organ area, it squeezes the blood away from that area and then draws fresh blood back in as you release that squeeze. Be it a twist through the body. When we twist through the body, we're twisting and squeezing the abdominal organs. squeezing, the blood flows away from the tissue, and then when you release, blood flows back into the tissue. So it's very good for your health in general. Please do try and engage with your pelvic floor and practice daily. Thank you very much. Namaste.